En nombre de ACLA, a más de 2 millones de nicaragüenses. En AmCham, nuestro compromiso es Nicaragua. En nombre de ACLA y el US Chamber, reitero las palabras perfectas del presidente del Comité Ejecutivo de ACLA, Tom Kenna, al inicio. No hay organización más dedicada al desarrollo económico de Nicaragua que AmCham. Y su compromiso al crecimiento y generación de empleos es un ejemplo para todos nosotros en la red de ACLA del impacto que el sector privado puede tener en cada uno de nuestros países. Quiero también reconocer la amable hospitalidad del gobierno nicaragüense, sobre todo del general Álvaro Baltodano, Laureano Ortega y los miembros del gabinete del presidente, que nos... Un poco más, perfecto. Que nos han recibido. Gracias. También manda saludos a todos mi colega del US Chamber y gran amiga de Nicaragua, Jody Bond, quien mucho quería estar aquí con nosotros hoy. Y lamenta mucho haber tenido un conflicto de agenda. Es un honor para todos nosotros poder estar aquí en Managua para BFA, y no hay mejor sede para tener ese intercambio importante durante un momento tan clave para nuestro hemisferio en términos de las relaciones comerciales indispensables que nosotros compartimos. As I switch to English, I also want to recognize U.S. Ambassador to Nicaragua, Laura Dogu, and express our appreciation for the strong support that she and the embassy team consistently lend to the AmCham. I also want to acknowledge Deputy Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Western Hemisphere Affairs, John Anderson, who together with his team at the Department of Commerce works tirelessly in support of U.S. business across the Americas. I'm very happy to be here today in 2 roles, as I serve as Vice President of the Americas at the U.S. Chamber, as Bosco said, and I also serve as Executive Vice President of ACLA. My most important role here today is to introduce our distinguished keynote speaker. But before I do, I've been asked to provide a quick overview of our view from Washington and how both the Chamber and ACLA are engaging to advance trade and investment across the region in the face of political and economic uncertainty. There's no question that we in the United States have arrived at a crossroads when it comes to determining whether we will continue to lead on regional and global trade or whether we will opt to withdraw. If I'm able to impart one thing to you today in my remarks, I hope it's that we in the U.S. private sector are more active and engaged than ever to ensure that the U.S. retains its position of leadership on trade in the Americas and across the world. While it's imperative that we heed the concerns of those in our country and throughout the region who believe globalization has left them behind, we are committed to making the case that, on balance, advance of free trade has strengthened ties between our countries, improved standards of living, and reduced poverty. Nowhere is that more clear than in our hemisphere. Which is why we at the U.S. Chamber and ACLA are working both in Washington and across the Americas to preserve the great progress that's been made to drive the next phase of advance. Among other key priorities in Washington, we are engaging with the Trump administration and with the U.S. Congress to ensure the path towards normalization of relations between the U.S. and Cuba remains unhindered. The rapprochement between our 2 countries undertaken in December of 2014 has been an unmitigated economic, national security, and geopolitical success for the United States. It must not just be preserved, but advanced. We're also closely following procedures at the Organization of American States and in the U.S. Congress related to the sanctioning of the Maduro regime in Venezuela. The tragic conditions of economic and social deprivation in which the regime has placed the people and private sector of that great country demand a resolved response from all of us across the hemisphere. With respect to the future of U.S. commitment to open trade, I'd submit to you that no issue will go further to determining my country's level of engagement across the Americas than the upcoming renegotiation of the North American Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA. And it's why no issue commands more of our time and attention at this current moment. The U.S. private sector has made clear to the Trump administration and others that the case for modernizing NAFTA is strong. It's a 24-year-old agreement that could be significantly enhanced by incorporating contemporary standards in areas like e-commerce, the digital economy writ large, and investment protection. But any effort to update the agreement should take great care not to jeopardize the $1.3 million in annual trade between Canada, Mexico, and the US, nor the 14 million US jobs that NAFTA supports. We're passionately making this case through outreach in Washington and at grassroots events across the US and in both Mexico and Canada. Chamber President and CEO Tom Donahue has recently visited both Ottawa and Mexico City to make public, unequivocal statements on behalf of the US private sector in strong support of NAFTA and meet with Prime Minister Trudeau and President Peña Nieto. And we will take another big step in making this case tomorrow when the Chamber and its Mexican counterpart host more than 60 CEOs in Washington for the 8th US-Mexico CEO Dialogue. The gathering will allow US and Mexican business leaders to interact directly with cabinet members from both governments responsible for negotiating NAFTA, and for the first time at the dialogue, will convene Canadian business leaders and officials for a full NAFTA forum. Beyond Washington and NAFTA, the Chamber and ACLA agendas are equally robust. Specific to the Caribbean, we look forward to working with Congress and with our 5 AmChams to develop a meaningful agenda under both the US CARICOM Trade Facilitation Agreement and the Caribbean Strategic Engagement. We're also committed to supporting the groundbreaking work that AmCham Dominican Republic and AmCham Haiti are doing to integrate their 2 private sectors and address long-standing economic challenges between the 2 countries of Hispaniola. In the Andean region, in collaboration with AmCham Colombia, we've been proud to support the critical economic development component of the peace and post-conflict processes through launch of the US-Colombia Business Council and the Binational Business Summit held 3 weeks ago with President Santos. And we were proud to collaborate with our colleagues at AmCham Peru as it supported President Kuczynski in his ultimately successful visit with President Trump at the White House recently. In the Southern Cone, we've worked closely with AmCham Argentina on prioritizing private sector engagement that advances the ambitious reforms of President Macri, a process that culminated in the President's visit to Washington and to the Chamber 5 weeks ago, where he helped us launch the US-Argentina Business Council. In Brazil, the AmChams and our Brazil-US Business Council are closely monitoring the unfolding political crisis and leading private sector efforts to ensure institutions remain functional and respected. And of course, here in Central America, we are proud to be active in every country and across multiple initiatives designed to foster enhanced transparency and prosperity. We salute the work that Nicaragua is doing with AmCham out front to enhance much-needed regional energy and infrastructure integration in collaboration with SIECA and other regional stakeholders. We were proud to recently host a Costa Rican delegation led by AmCham Costa Rica that followed closely on the heels of the visit to the White House by President Solis, during which the 11 years of CAFTA-DR success, unmitigated success as we all know, were underscored to the Trump administration. We're pleased to be able to support the work that AmCham Panama continues to do in setting the gold standard for sector-specific outreach in the US, having led recent missions to Silicon Valley, Wall Street, and beyond. And of course, no regional priority is more important to us than advancing transparency, security, and economic development in the Northern Triangle. Together with our indomitable AmCham partners in El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras, the Chamber has helped spearhead private sector engagement on the plan of the Alliance for Prosperity of the Northern Triangle since its inception. Week after next, we'll take the next critical step in this process when the Chamber and Northern Triangle and AmChams lead private sector participation in a summit convened by US Vice President Mike Pence in Miami. The summit will not only bring together the leaders of the Northern Triangle, but other senior officials from Central America, Colombia, and Mexico to explore a true regional approach to fortifying institutions, enhancing security, and generating prosperity in El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. In short, the key theme of the conference will be adherence to and enhancement of rule of law. And I submit to you it's a good place for me to conclude, because there is no more important and pressing priority in our hemisphere. For the past 5 years, the Chamber and ACLA have operated the Coalition for the Rule of Law in Global Markets that's dedicated to advocating for legal security, transparency, stability, predictability, enforceability, and due process in economic and commercial affairs across our hemisphere. Where these principles are present, investment thrives, economies grow, jobs are created, and prosperity follows. Where they are absent, corruption thrives, informality reigns, investment dollars flee, and tax revenues plummet. Whether in the Northern Triangle, Venezuela, Brazil, Haiti, Nicaragua, or in the United States, observing and advancing these principles has never been more critical than it is today. In conjunction with ACLA's 50th anniversary celebration in September, we're proud to be unveiling our new global dashboard for the rule of law, which will assess the climate for rule of law in more than 60 markets around the world, including all of the markets of the Americas. In addition to granting investors a means to assess the probability of return on investment in a given country, the dashboard will provide the private sector a tool with which it can partner with governments in a constructive fashion to contribute to institutionalization.
Institucionalidad, en la medida que le damos seguimiento. A nombre de la Cámara Comercial de los Estados Unidos y ACLA, realmente nuevamente quiero dar agradecimiento a Nicaragua por ser la sede y a todos ustedes por sus esfuerzos individuales y colectivos para asegurar el comercio. Permítame recordarles una frase durante la clase. Cuando están los tiempos flacos, hay grandes oportunidades. Juntos podemos incrementar el acceso a los mercados, el desarrollo inclusivo, incrementar la prosperidad y incrementar el Estado de Derecho. Ahora es mi privilegio presentar a nuestro exponente. Él es un hombre dedicado, Carlos Gutiérrez, realmente no necesita mayor presentación. Aquí él es lo que representa la historia tradicional de un hombre que llega a un país un inmigrante que llega a un país. Cuando Carlos vino a los Estados Unidos en 1986, no hablaba ni una palabra de inglés. Unas pocas décadas después, él es el jefe del Kellogg Company, la autoridad máxima. Carlos se unió a la administración del presidente Bush como el 35 secretario de Comercio y una de sus legados va a ser el haber asegurado uno de los acuerdos de comercio más importantes, Colombia, Perú, Bolivia y el CAFTA. Durante su estadía con el gobierno de los Estados Unidos, él se convirtió miembro del grupo Albert Stone, además de supervisar una amplia clientela a lo largo del mundo. Él también sirvió como en la junta de directores de la 500 Time Warner. En el Cámara de Comercio de los Estados Unidos también trabajamos con el secretario Gutiérrez como el primer presidente del primer Consejo de Comercio Cuba. Él respondió tanto la llamada de su país de origen y de sus personas de su país de adopción. La transformación no ha sido para los Estados Unidos y Cuba nada más, ha sido también una transformación para todo el hemisferio. Puedo decirles que nadie dentro del sector privado ha tenido tanto impacto para mover y llevar hacia adelante las relaciones de comercio entre Estados Unidos y Cuba. Permítame presentarles y darle la bienvenida al secretario Carlos Gutiérrez.